Hey there internets, I'm Michael and this is Toucan Play That Game, bringing you our review of Quadropolis by Days of Wonder. So what is Quadropolis? Well, it is a sitting building game whereby you are selecting your buildings from the central reserve each turn using a numbered architect. The number on the architect will dictate which building you are able to take, but it then also affects where you're able to put it in your city. Then, at the end of the game, each of these buildings will score in different ways. Some will score based on how many you have stacked up. Others score by what else is around them. And some score for having them in a row. There's lots of different ways to score. There's lots of different ways to win. If you do want to know more details about how the gameplay actually all works, etc., I have done an instructional video and 2 playthrough videos, so please do check those out. So what do I think of it? Well, let's start with the artwork on the box here, and this is the same artwork that flows throughout the entire game on everything. It is this sort of cartoony, very similar to what you find in a lot of phone apps now, like Clash of Clans, Boom Beach, that sort of style of animation. But of course, it's not animated; it's still here. I quite like this. I think it's light, it's family friendly, it's fun. It tells you everything you need to know about this game. It is light, family friendly, and fun, and that is what Quadropolis is. What about the components? Well, let's start with the rulebook here. It's very nicely laid out. It's all very clear. It's all visually appealing with all the diagrams. It's bright, it's colourful, it's easy to use. Perfect manual. Then we have the little player aids here. The iconography can be a bit confusing on how the things score at times, but otherwise very useful and very good to be able to reference back to during the course of the game. Very nice to have one for each player. Then you have your city boards, your individual player boards, which are double-sided. Visually, they're very nice. Component-wise, yeah, I would have preferred something slightly thicker. However, it does work fine. It's not tearing. It's good, lightweight card. What I would have liked to have seen is something more like your construction zone board here. Proper cardboard. This isn't hugely thick cardboard. You can see mine has seen quite a lot of use and it is starting to flex a bit already. So it is not the highest it could be quality, but still really nice. I would have liked to have seen the player boards also this, and I do love the image on the back here. What about pieces? Well, you get all these translucent plastic pieces. So you've got your Urbanist, your Mayor. These are really nice. They have a surprisingly lightness to them because you look at them and they look like glass and you think, oh, I'm going to pick those up. They're going to be really heavy. They're just actually really high quality plastic, but very nice. And then, of course, you have your occupants and your energy. And again, these are that same translucent plastic. I do think the edges are a bit too crisp cut. They can feel a bit sharp at times and a bit abrasive, but they're actually really nicely done, very well made. It's just a personal preference that I would prefer slightly rounded edges, just make it a bit less harsh feeling. But very nice component-wise. The bag you get is okay. I mean, it's your typical bag that you would get in this. My main comment on the bag is I would like it to be slightly bigger. I find once you put all the tiles in here for each of the rounds, there isn't actually a lot of space for the tiles to move, so you don't get a huge amount of shuffling happening. If it had been a bit bigger of a bag, it would have shuffled them better. But otherwise, it is okay. And then the final thing is all the tiles you get in this. So you've got your building tiles and your architect tiles. These are all the same quality. They're nicely printed. They look nice. They are this layered cardboard, which over time does tend to split. It's not happened yet, but I think if you get moisture into these, etc., they won't last great. However, they're very nice, they're working very well, they're nice heavy weight to them, and I think good component-wise. So that is all the components out the way. Now we can talk about what you really care about, which is of course the gameplay. Now there are the two modes in this. However, I would say the idea is that you have the classic mode as an introduction for the younger players of a family, etc. And then you can progress on to the expert mode. I would say the expert mode is still a light game though. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of strategy that you can have in this game. But I think players who like their heavyweight Euros, heavy strategy games, will find even the expert mode a bit too tame for them. However, for me personally, I love both these modes of play. I think the classic mode is a perfect gateway family introductory game. It flows quickly, it's easy to teach, it's simple to teach, but there is still so many different options and strategies involved. And the amount of luck involved is very minimal. You only have the luck of the initial set out. From then on, it's you vs the other players. No other luck whatsoever. And okay, I tend not to like games without that luck, but it works well for such a light game to the amount of strategy. And then the expert mode just adds a little bit more of depth there, that I do actually prefer the expert mode. But even as someone who prefers the expert mode, I would still happily play that classic mode, especially with players teaching for the first time. You'll easily teach them the classic mode. If they feel, well, I'd like to see a bit more depth there, you'd have time to play the advanced mode. It's a short game, it's a fun game, it's quick, it's easily accessible. It is what Days of Wonder do best. But can two play that game? Yes, two can play that game. Actually though, I would recommend playing with 3 players. I still think it is a fantastic game and I would still happily play it with 2 players. But I think the optimum number for my personal taste is 3. And the reason for that is at 2 players, the level of blocking that happens because of the number of architects being placed around your construction zone is not as high, because you've got half as many as if you were playing with 4 player. Yes, you have fewer tiles, but it doesn't have quite the same feel of blocking going on with only 2 players. However, you might prefer that if you want it to be a more friendly game experience. The 2-player game will be your preferred game. And then when you get up to 4 players, it can get really tough, especially towards the later rounds, because so many arrows are going out. Yes, you have more buildings to choose from, but you've got less options of where you're choosing from, and it is so much harder as a 4-player game, and so much more blocking and strategic even, much less light. The more players you have, the heavier it gets. And I think for me, the perfect balance is that 3. So that's my thoughts on Quadropolis, a great family game and a great gateway game that is accessible to everyone, and I think pretty much anyone can enjoy this game. So I do hope that you have enjoyed this video. Of course, if you have, please do check out the rest of the videos on the channel, subscribe to the channel and share the channel with your friends and family, as well as checking us out on social media. You can find us on Facebook and on Twitter. And as always, thanks for watching and bye for now.